The ocean looks familiar until it doesn't. A skin of blue, a shimmer of light, the easy illusion that we know what's beneath. But below that surface is a world that breaks expectations. A place where daylight fails and biology rewrites itself. Drop with the camera, down past the waves that toss and glitter, down into colder water, where the sun's reach thins like breath in winter. At 200 meters, the last bright colors fade. Red disappears first, then orange. Then the world becomes a narrow spectrum of blue and black. Here, shadows aren't cast by trees or mountains. They're cast by absence. This is the beginning of the deep, what scientists call the twilight zone, the mesopelagic. Not shallow enough for reefs. Not deep enough for the true abyss. A boundary layer, a threshold. And across that threshold, the animals begin to change. Eyes enlarge into black mirrors. Jaws loosen, unhinge, stretch. Bodies turn thin and fragile like glasswork, or they inflate, soft and gelatinous, shaped more for drifting than fighting. They look alien to us because they are built for a physics we rarely feel. Immense pressure, constant cold, and near total darkness. Every 10 meters, the weight increases by about 1 atmosphere. By 1,000 meters, the pressure is roughly 100 times what you experience at sea level. A force that would crush air pockets, collapse lungs, splinter unprotected bone. So deep sea life adapts. No gas-filled spaces, no fragile structures that rely on air. Instead, flexible tissues, pressure-tolerant proteins, membranes tuned to the cold. To us, it reads as monstrous, but to the deep, it's simply survival. And still, in the fading light, something else begins to glow. Tiny sparks, brief flashes, a pale, living glitter in the dark water. Bioluminescence. Not a decoration, a language. If the deep ocean has no sun, why does it still shine? And were those lights saying, down where almost nothing can hear? We keep descending, because the deeper you go, the stranger the rules become. At first, the lights feel like stars, but stars don't swim past your lens. In the twilight zone, bioluminescence is everywhere. Most of the animals here can make light, or steal it, or bend it, or hide from it. Some glow to attract prey. A lure, hung like a lantern in black water. Others glow to distract, releasing a cloud of light the way a squid releases ink. A sudden flash that confuses a predator long enough for escape. And some glow for something quieter. A signal to find a mate in a world with no landmarks. A coded pattern, species-specific, precise. Bioluminescence is chemistry. Molecules like luciferin, enzymes like luciferase, oxygen joining the reaction to release photons. Light without heat, cold fire. But the most unsettling trick isn't making light. It's erasing yourself from it. Look closely at a hatchetfish. From above, it's dark, almost invisible against the black. From below, it should be a silhouette against faint downwelling light. Instead, along its belly, it carries photophores, light organs, tuned to match the brightness of the water above. Counter-illumination, a living dimmer switch. The fish becomes a cutout that disappears. In this zone, there is no safe, only harder to see. So bodies change. Some become transparent, dissolving into the water like ghosts. Some are armored. Some are so soft they seem unfinished. Gelatinous forms that conserve energy, drifting instead of swimming. Energy is the currency here, and it is scarce. There are no forests of algae, no sun-fed blooms. Food falls from above. Dead plankton, fecal pellets, the occasional carcass. Marine snow, a slow, constant, faint blizzard of nutrients. Everything waits for it. Everything is adapted to hunger. Then, every day, the water itself moves. As dusk spreads across the surface, millions of animals rise. Fish, squid, crustaceans. The largest migration on Earth, happening vertically in darkness. They climb hundreds of meters to feed where the plankton are. And before sunrise, they sink again, hiding from the eyes of the day. It's an ancient rhythm, a pulse. But hunger drives risk, and risk shapes weapons. Here come the mouths, teeth like needles, jaws that hinge beyond what looks possible, stomachs that stretch to hold prey nearly their own size. Because when meals are rare, you cannot afford to miss one. We descend beneath this living migration into deeper black. And in that black, the bodies become even more unfamiliar, less like the animals we recognize, more like the ocean's own inventions. At 1,000 meters, night becomes permanent. No twilight, no hints of sky. In this darkness, evolution does not sculpt for beauty. It sculpts for function, sometimes brutally. Meet the anglerfish, a face of spines and teeth, a jaw that opens like a trap, and from its head, a filament, an elysium ending in a glowing lure. The light is made by symbiotic bacteria, living within the lure, fed by the fish, producing illumination on demand. A partnership forged in darkness. Prey sees a tiny glow, an easy meal, a drifting creature. It approaches, and the mouth becomes the last thing it ever sees. But the deep doesn't only rewrite hunting, it rewrites love. In some anglerfish species, the male is tiny, a drifting speck compared to the female. He has one mission: find her in the infinite black. When he does, he bites, and he does not let go. Over time, his tissues fuse with hers. Blood vessels connect. He becomes part of her body, an attached reproductive organ, nourished by her blood. To us, it feels like horror. But in a world where encounters are rare, where the distance between individuals is vast, this ensures that when the chance comes, it isn't lost. This is what scarcity does. It drives extremes. Other creatures take a different path. The giant squid, still half legend, half science, moves like a shadow through deep water. Its eyes are among the largest on Earth, built to gather the faintest traces, the glimmer of bioluminescence, the ghost light of disturbance, the silhouette of danger. Even their enemies are shaped by deep physics. Sperm whales dive into this black, holding their breath for an hour, hunting by sound. Echolocation clicks that slice through darkness like sonar knives. It's easy to think the deep is silent. It isn't. It's full of signals we can't hear without machines. And yet, with all these adaptations, the deep remains unforgiving. Pressure presses into everything. Cold slows chemical reactions. Metabolism becomes a careful budget. So some animals choose patience instead of power. They wait. They drift. They conserve. A deep-sea fish may live decades, growing slowly, feeding rarely. Some deep sharks mature late and reproduce slowly, making their populations fragile. Still we descend, because beneath the hunting grounds lies another world again, one where the ocean floor appears and life clings to it like a secret. The seafloor arrives like a continent in darkness, not sand and sunshine, just cold sediment, scattered rocks, and the remains of whatever falls from above. Here, the ocean's rain becomes a feast. A whale dies at the surface, sinks for days, and lands like a gift the deep has been waiting for. A whale fall, an ecosystem built from death. First come the scavengers, sharks, hagfish, amphipods, stripping soft tissue in weeks or months. Then come the opportunists, worms and crustaceans, feeding on what's left. And then, over years, the bones themselves become fuel. Bacteria break down lipids inside the bone, releasing sulfides. And sulfides feed a different kind of life, chemosynthetic communities, animals that do not depend on sunlight at all. It's a reminder, deep-sea life is not just adapted to darkness. It is adapted to other energy sources entirely. And nowhere is that clearer than at hydrothermal vents. Along mid-ocean ridges, the Earth's crust cracks. Seawater seeps down, is heated by magma, becomes chemically altered, and blasts back into the ocean as superheated fluid loaded with minerals. Black smokers, chimneys of metal sulfides growing in real time, venting water that can exceed 300 degrees Celsius, yet surrounded by near-freezing sea. The temperature gradient is extreme. The chemistry is violent, and still life thrives. Giant tube worms, with no mouths and no guts, rely on bacteria living inside them. Those bacteria use hydrogen sulfide from the vent fluid to build organic molecules. Chemosynthesis, a food web powered by rock and heat. Clams, mussels, and shrimp join the community, each with microbial partners. A city of organisms built around invisible chemistry. It looks alien because it is so different from the sunlit world. But it is still Earth life, following Earth rules, just different rules than the ones we live by. And this is where the unsettling thought arrives. If life can flourish without sunlight, in darkness, under crushing pressure, fed by chemistry, then where else might it flourish? Ocean worlds like Europa and Enceladus. Icy moons with suspected subsurface oceans suddenly feel less like science fiction and more like a question. We leave the vents behind and move toward the deepest places of all, the trenches, Earth scars, places so deep that even the ocean seems to forget them. The trench is not just deeper water. It is a different planet inside our own. Here, the seafloor drops away into a narrow wound where tectonic plates collide and one sinks beneath another. The Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, names that mark the edges of what we can reach. At these depths, pressure becomes an architecture. It shapes molecules. It changes how proteins fold. It threatens the most basic chemistry of life. And yet, animals live here. Amphipods, shrimp-like scavengers, swarm baited cameras, their bodies built to withstand the crush. Snailfish hover near the bottom, soft and pale, their tissues adapted to pressures that would destroy surface creatures. Their survival depends on subtle biochemical tricks. Cell membranes must stay fluid in cold and pressure. Enzymes must still function. Some deep organisms accumulate compounds like TMAO that help stabilize proteins against pressure. Even so, there are limits. Fish become rare below certain depths, not because the trench is empty, but because the chemical constraints tighten. And life here is shaped by isolation. Trenches are separated by ridges and basins like islands in a sea of darkness. Populations can become cut off, evolving along their own paths, diverging in the deep. But the trench is not untouched. In recent years, researchers have found human-made chemicals and plastics even in the deepest sediments. The deep ocean is remote, but not protected. What we release at the surface eventually falls, one way or another, into the dark. It's unsettling for another reason, too. We're used to thinking the deep is slow, timeless, but it can be sudden. Submarine landslides, earthquakes that reshape the seafloor, turbidity currents, underwater avalanches, moving faster than a sprint, carrying sediment and debris down into the abyss. A deep-sea community can be buried in minutes. So the animals here live in a world of extremes. Extreme pressure, extreme scarcity, extreme events. And still they persist. Which brings us back to the question we started with. Why do they look like aliens? Not because they're unnatural, because they're perfectly natural, adapted to conditions that are, for us, almost unimaginable. One more descent, one more reveal. Because the strangest part may not be the animals at all, but what they suggest about life itself. When we call deep-sea creatures alien, we're really describing our own limits. Our eyes want symmetry, color, familiar shapes. Our minds want daylight. The deep offers none of that. It offers a world built on pressure and patience. A place where light is a tool, not a gift. Where bodies become transparent, or armored, or soft as jelly. Because in darkness, the rules are different. These creatures are not mistakes. They are solutions. A loose jaw is not grotesque. It is efficiency. A glowing lure is not decoration. It is strategy. A fused mate is not horror. It is probability solved. And the deeper you go, the more the ocean begins to feel like a laboratory for alternate versions of life. Not alternate in origin, still DNA, still cells, still chemistry we can trace. Alternate in expression. We've mapped only a fraction of the seafloor in high detail. We have filmed only a small slice of the deep with our best cameras. New species are still being described. New behaviors still being caught. briefly in the beam of a submersible light. Sometimes the camera sees an animal pass once, just once, and never again. A ribbon of movement, a flash of bioluminescence, a shape without a name. That is the deep ocean's power. It keeps its secrets not through magic, but through scale. Most of Earth's living space is not land. It is water, and most of that water is dark. So when we stare into the abyss and see faces with teeth like needles, eyes like moons, bodies like drifting glass, we are not looking at a nightmare. We are looking at the majority. And there is one more mystery, hovering beneath all the others. If life can adapt to this, to pressure that crushes steel, to cold that slows time, to darkness without end, to food that falls like snow, then how flexible is life, really? Is the deep ocean the strangest place on Earth? Or just the closest example of what might be common elsewhere? Because out there, under the ice of distant moons, the lights may be different. The chemistry may be unfamiliar, but the question will be the same. In the dark, what is alive?